Hey guys, I'm pretty excited because we finally have Wong. So we're going to be doing a little review on Wong. We'll definitely be taking a look at Doctor Strange as well, but we're primarily looking at Wong since I'm not even sure if we even ever had a release of Wong before. So it's pretty exciting for me at least, for the representation. And so we're going to take a look at the box, the articulation, how it compares to other figures. So stick around and we'll get right into it. Here's our box, and I've been really enjoying the new box designs lately. I enjoy that they're like fully rectangular, no kind of weird curves to them at all. But besides that, pretty straightforward box art. It is Doctor Strange, of course. And interestingly though, that we have Wong on the left side as opposed to Wong on the right side. Taking a look at the side, we have this really nice art, which I believe might be Alex Ross. And again, the same images that we saw, but the full images. And on the side, another basically variation of what we saw on the other side. And that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and get this guy in box. And here they are out of box. Oh. And as you can see, here is Wong and our Doctor Strange. And we're gonna start with Doctor Strange really quick. Here he is. As you can see, his eyes are not typical eyes. I'm not sure if this is actually supposed to be Doctor Strange and he's possessed, or a different character that is posing as Doctor Strange or something like that. But in terms of the figure itself, you can see that it's pretty much the same mold as our previous Doctor Strange, with the exception of the cape. This cape is actually, I think, the same as the older Doctor Strange, which I don't have on hand right here. But the newer one has a different cape, and it's nice. I like this cape better. This one is so like big and bulky on the sides right here on the back that it's just kind of goofy looking. I prefer the colors of this one over the newer one, but again, this one is supposed to be kind of a different Doctor Strange, a more darker Strange, if you will. And so he does have an alternate head, a Dormammu head, and it does just attach like so. Also, this piece does actually come off pretty easily. It came off as I was trying to put him on. And so if you really want him like that you can have that. And otherwise, as far as accessories go, he's got two magic effects. And as tradition, these are molded in this color, including the hand, and then the hands are painted. So you can see kind of right there, right where the hand meets the effect, that it's actually purple and that this is painted on yellow. Now, even though this is intended to be for Doctor Strange, I don't know if there's any real reason that you couldn't just use these for Wong and using Wong's effects vice versa. So there you go. And just so you can see, the effects are effectively exactly the same design. It does look like that they are using the same mold with just a different paint job. And it is kind of interesting to see just how much more pale that our newer Doctor Strange actually is. And I mean, if you wanted to swap the head, you could, but because of how much paler the neck is, it may not look quite right. But like I said at the beginning, it's really Wong that I'm most excited about having. He is one of the very few Asian characters that we have in the Marvel universe. And even then, he doesn't even have that prominent of a role, at least within the comics. And in the MCU, he has a much bigger role, which is kind of nice to see. And so because he doesn't really have a prominent role in the comics the way he does in the movies, this is one of many looks that he's had over the years. So this may not necessarily be like the traditional Wong, but it's still a good looking outfit. And we can also see that it's actually a unique mold to Wong, and something that they may reuse in the future, specifically our torso right here. So this is actually really interesting because, you know, most of our characters, they are clothed in some kind of way, and usually they've got muscle to them in some regard, but from the side, it really just looks like just regular clothing, or maybe Wong isn't really muscly under there. Maybe he doesn't have a six-pack or something like that. But it's different, and I like different because, I mean, so much of what we have is really the same thing and just repainted, and that is a complaint that a lot of people have, but this is pretty cool. And as far as the articulation of it, you can see that we don't have the same articulation like we do with Doctor Strange over here. We can still bend forward like that, which is an okay amount, and we can go back an okay amount. But really, comparing it at least with Doctor Strange can go over more than that, and more in the other direction too. And so that articulation with this isn't super great, but I mean, they are trying something different, so I'm gonna at least give them points for that. The other thing that I really like about this is the difference with the arms. So usually with sleeved characters like this, the wrist peg is just like kind of at the end of it, but here we have something actually The cool thing about the wrist peg is that you can actually see that the wrist comes out of the sleeve a bit, and then you actually get the whole for the pig itself. And that's pretty different. I am so used to them just ending at the end of the sleeve and then having the hole there. So while many people may not think too much about that, that is, to me, is huge. That's a thing that they really have to make a whole new mold for. This is a very unique bit, and I don't know how many characters that they're going to reuse this on, but I really hope to see a whole lot more of that, because you can even see that the wrist itself is actually molded in its own separate color and then attached to the forearm. So that's really cool. I like that a lot. Otherwise, the rest of the arm itself is probably new because, you know, we've got kind of that fabric kind of folded in here as well as on the arms. So those are probably new bits, but those are probably also going to be easier to reuse for other characters later on. And that kind of follows down here too. So this, it looks new to me, but it may be possible that I've missed a figure that this already exists on. But it still looks good, and I like it a lot. The shoes are also a new mold as far as I can tell. It's got this kind of Chinese design to it, and that's neat to see. As far as his other accessories besides the magic effects that he has, so his hands are these kind of tiger style hands. Then he's got gripping hands and these other kind of hands. And these hands I usually think of as like martial arts hands. I'll try to throw up a picture of what I'm talking about. And so it's interesting because my knowledge of Wong isn't that complete in the comics, because I don't know if he actually is a martial artist. Definitely he is a magic user, but all of the hands that we have are all martial art hands. So I wish we would have had kind of a regular fist, just because that's more typical. Every character can have a fist and that can make sense, but he just has strictly martial arts hands, which is weird, but not bad either if you don't care about Wong as Wong, but you want some kind of like martial arts dude. Then that actually works perfectly, because that outfit works perfectly in that kind of way. And you know, the face sculpt, he is definitely an Asian guy. And speaking of the face sculpt, it looks pretty good. I think that the print on is not looking as good as it can be. I don't know if this is a change that they've done or a particular factory that's done it this way, but I do think that we've had better paint application on the face. Otherwise, in terms of the face itself, the sculpt, I think that looks really good. I really like that a lot. And at the same time, even though this is definitely an Asian face, it's definitely close enough that you could make this a Lex Luthor head if you really wanted to. Now, I know they aren't really comparable, but they sort of are. So here's our MCU Wong and our comic book Wong. And as you can see, our MCU Wong is a good bit taller than our comic book Wong. And strangely, that neck doesn't look great. I think that head is sitting a little too high, but that's just it by default. So that's how those look together. Additionally, we also have Bats as a character. He is a ghost dog, but I've seen a few issues with bats in them, and usually, you know, he's a fun character to have around. And this is fun that we're actually getting some representation of this character in toy form. Now here is Shang-Chi next to our Wong figure. And as you can see, Shang-Chi does stand just a little bit taller than our Wong. I actually have a whole separate video where I did a buyer's guide on all of the Asian characters that we have in the Marvel Legends line. Stylistically, I think some of the MCU Shang-Chi characters actually look pretty good with Wong, with kind of that Asian inspired dress. So here's Wong with our cast of the Shang-Chi film in Legends form. And I do think that they go together really well. I like the contrast of the green versus the red and the blue and the white, and that looks really cool together. And again, that kind of Asian inspired outfits I think goes really well. So if you're trying to do some kind of like Asian display, then you know, this can be a good way to go. Otherwise, overall, I'm really happy with the figure. I think he looks really good. Articulation is pretty decent, with the exception of again, our chest right here. The ab crunch is almost non-existent. Otherwise, everything else is pretty standard. If you look at it, there's really nothing obstructing. And if you want more Asian characters, then you should check out my video over here.